Right, welcome to part 3 of this second knife build. I decided not to upload anything else until I got the bulk of the grinding done, because I figured over the last 2 parts of this mini-series you've seen enough grinding. Anyway, I've been working on it and I've got to say I'm not real happy because I've cocked a few bits up. This side, although it's heavily scratched as you can see, ain't too bad. But this side, I'm not happy at all. What had happened is, these shoulders, I'd got them wrong and they were offset from one another. So I tried to square them up and I ended up nicking the top edge of the blade, the spine of the blade, with the belt sander. This particular knife, although it's only my second knife, has been an absolute nightmare grinding wise up to now. And to be blunt, I'm sick to blooming death of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to carry on. I'm going to keep doing it. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to progress straight on to trying to clean it up a bit and get rid of these scratches, see if I can get a nice polish on it. As I've mentioned previously, my knives that I'm making at the moment aren't for function. They're purely decorative. I'm just trying to learn a bit every time I do a knife. Compared to my last knife, my first knife I made, I feel like I've really taken a step backwards. I don't know what's gone wrong. This one just hasn't worked out for me very well at all. But what I'm going to do is, as I say, I'm going to go and try and get rid of the scratches and polish it up a bit. See how I get on. I'm starting to think that there might have been a bit of a twist in the metal as well before I started using it, only ever so slight, because the grind just wasn't even. On the first knife I made, as I was grinding along, the bevel line was staying really straight, but on this one it kind of dipped and waved and God knows what. And I've done it exactly the same as the first one, but I don't know what's gone wrong with it. But I feel like I've done so much work on it grinding wise to give up on it, so I'm gonna carry on, and I'm gonna see if I can make it at least look nice. I ain't even bothering to put an edge on it. As you can see, that's still really thick. Focus. It ain't focusing very well, but I'm sure you can see that this edge is really thick. I've got it down at the end, but you know, I'm not even going to continue with this. I don't think it's worth the blooming time and effort at this stage. So I'm going to crack on, see if I can polish it up a bit before I make the scales. Right, so I've pretty much got to a point where I'm getting really fed up with this knife. I don't know what's going wrong with it. I just can't get the blade portion of it to look decent. I've spent a bit of time hand sanding it with wet and dry, and I've basically got it to that. Now you can probably see there's a lot of scratches on it, and marks, and more towards this end. It's terrible, it really is terrible, but I'm running out of patience with it. I'm not sure if it's the type of metal, something I'm doing wrong, I just don't know. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move on. I'm going to get some scales on it, and I guess make the best of a bad job. I think one lesson I've learned up to now is be a little bit more choosy what you start making a knife out with, or making a knife out of. This particular bit of metal, I was told it was mild steel, and it was a really rough bit of scrap metal. Maybe that's a bit of the problem. My starting point wasn't great. I mean, obviously, I know a big part of the problem is my lack of skill, ability and experience, but I'm just a bit disappointed in this one, because although it wasn't perfect, the first knife I made was far better. But as I say, I'm going to get some scales on it and I'll just call it job done, and I think I've learnt a few things from it. For the scales, I've got a bit of mahogany that I'm going to use. It's approximately 11mm thick, so it shouldn't take too much working on. I'm starting to feel like I've spent enough time on this blooming knife already as it is. But one thing I'm going to try is get a bit of the old copper pipe, my old favourite. Cut a length off, split it down its length and open it up, and see if I can get it flat enough to put between the mahogany and the knife handle. I think it'll make a nice contrast. So I'm going to crack on with that now and give it a go. Right, so I've got the mahogany and copper scales roughly cut out for both sides. I've left them a little bit bigger than what they need to be. Not much, but just enough so I can sand them down and hopefully get them looking nice. I forgot to press blooming record when I was cutting these bits out, but what is it? There's not a lot to it really. It's just draw around the blooming handle and cut them out. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get some epoxy ready, and I'm going to glue the copper to the mahogany for now on each set. When that's cured, get them on the handle, make sure they're all lined up properly, and glue them up. I'm just using trying to use an old drill bit to make sure they're lined up correctly, and then I will get some clamps on it. Gotta admit, I'm not entirely convinced this is going to work, but we'll see, I'm sure. Right, 1 second. You'd think I'd have learnt by now to get everything ready before I start putting glue on stuff. I might learn one day. Might. Anyway, basically that's it for the time being, so I'm going to leave that to set up. I'll do the other one off camera, you don't need to see them both going on, and I'll get back to you shortly. Right, okay, it's actually a few days later that I've managed to get back into the workshop. I've took the copper and mahogany laminates out of clamps. It's not worked out quite as nice as I hoped it would, but it's not terrible. There might be a little bit of salvaging to be done. That one's not too bad, but unfortunately this one, when I was taking it apart, it's gone and delaminated. But I think I might be able to squirt a bit of epoxy back in there and re-clamp it. But what I'm going to do for the time being is start sanding them and, you know, getting them into a decent shape. This ain't working out so well, this project, but I'm going to keep going and see where we end up. Right, I'm not doing any sanding at the minute, of course. I've actually glued and clamped the scales onto the knife handle. I know I'm complaining a lot, but there's been a lot go wrong with this project up to now. Lack of experience, lack of skill, and so on. But hopefully, as I said, we'll be able to salvage it a little bit and see where we get. So anyway, I'm going to leave that to set up for a bit, and I'll get back to you soon. Do you know, any minute I think I'm going to give up on this blooming thing. I've got the scales glued to the knife. I've actually used a couple of old drill bits for pins because it's all I had. But the problem is I forgot to press record when I was gluing it all up, but I'm sure you get the idea. I think I'm getting a little bit frustrated with this project because it's not going quite as well as I want it to. And it's distracting me. My frustration is distracting me. But as I keep saying, I'm going to carry on with it. I'll finish it to some sort of degree and see how it ends up. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start sanding all this back and cut them down, and that'll be more or less it, I would imagine it to be, and I'll see how we go from there. Oh yeah, my blooming pin, I don't know what the hell I've done there. Well, that's what I mean. I think in future I'm going to have to do a bit more planning and maybe write a list. I don't know. of what order to do things in and stuff like that, but I'll crack on and see where we get to. Right, so I've been stood at the sanding belt for a little while, and I've got the rough sand done. I've got to say, I'm not happy with this at all. There's a bit chipped out there. This bloody hole wandered somehow. I've had to grind this. I left a little bit of a tail there. I've had to grind that off because, well, basically, I've done a shit job there for, sorry, what focus. I'm guessing because of this hole and that cut mark there, the scale slipped at some point, so it's made a bit of a pig's ear of it. Looks a bit like a kitchen knife now. I didn't want it to, but there you go. But I am learning. I'm learning to leave my scales a bit wider in the first place. When I'm drilling for pins, make sure they're clamped tight as you like. You know, make sure everything's held in place. I'm also learning to start off with better steel. But we're getting there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to calm down and have a fag and a cup of tea, and then I'm going to start shaping the handle a bit better because it's still quite blocky and it's nearly there, and it needs to cool down. I keep burning my hand with it. I'm letting it get to what I think, so there's another lesson in it. Anyway, I'll catch up in a minute. Okay, so I've got the handle rounded off a bit. I accept it does look rather chunky and shit, but it actually feels quite comfortable in the hand, you know, considering the weight of the knife. So a bit of a sand with a finer paper, a wipe over with the oil, and I'm going to call it done. Anyway, I'll give it a rub down with a bit of a finer sandpaper. I've added a bit of wax to the handle. I thought I'd go with wax this time. So there's the, what I'm calling the finished product, because frankly, if you're not as fed up of this as I am, then I'll be bloody amazed. But just to try and show you what I've tried to achieve, I really like this copper inlay with the mahogany scales. Now I know it ain't perfectly flat, so what I think I'll try to do in future is actually find some copper sheet and do the same thing again. Hopefully if the copper sheet's flat, it might look a bit better. I will say I don't mind the overall look, but I'm not completely happy with it because I've made far too many mistakes, and I really feel that it could be a lot better. I also feel it wasn't even as good as the first knife I made, but you know, you can't win them all. But as frustrated as it's been, or as frustrated as it's been, I have in a weird way enjoyed doing it, and I'm actually really looking forward to doing my next one. I think I've learnt a lot from this particular knife. All the mistakes I've made, well, you know, it's all part and part of the course of learning, isn't it? Anyway, I'm going to end it off now. There's the final product. Far from perfect, but I've learnt a lot. I hope you've enjoyed watching this. All it seems to be is a lot of yapping, a lot of grinding, and a lot of sanding. But I suppose that's knife making. Right. Thanks a lot. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.